Hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, where today we celebrate what would have been the birthday of the late, great Gary Richrath, the guitarist for REO Speedwagon, a co-founder of the band, a principal songwriter for the band, and the most consistent member of the band during its golden era. While the band is primarily known for its monster hits from the late 70s into the mid 80s, the band started right at the beginning of the 70s as a kind of almost progressive hard rock band. And their first album, their self-titled album, had a great track, which is sort of a thing of legend among the true fans, 157 Riverside Avenue. And the lead vocalist at the time was Terry Luttrell, although he wouldn't last particularly long because by the second album, a familiar voice came in, and that was Kevin Cronin. But the story gets more complicated because he only lasted for an album, and he would be replaced by Mike Murphy for the Ride in the Storm Out album, which was the first album that kind of gave an inkling that there was going to be some commercial success in REO's future. But throughout all of this, it was Gary whose guitar playing really was the sound of the band because while its singers were doing musical chairs, he gave the band an identity. He was a really good musician. He really knew his way around the instrument, and he was a really good songwriter, which was sort of a harbinger of what was to come because REO really became known as a great songwriting band, even though they were all very, very talented. Um, Things shifted up again because Mike Murphy left in 1976 and enter Kevin Cronin back in there. And it would be this lineup of Kevin Cronin on vocals, Gary Richrath on guitar, Neil Doughty on keyboards, Bruce Hall on bass, and Alan Greitzer on drums that would become this quintessential lineup. And the album that really, really broke them through is an album that it's personally my favorite REO album. It was released in 78 and it's called You Can Tune a Piano, but You Can't Tune a Fish. Get it? Tuna fish. I love puns. I even drop some on the show on occasion just to upset the innocent. But it had the great song Roll with the Changes, Time for Me to Fly. Really good album, but not everything was perfectly happy in Oreo land because while the band was really seeing a lot of success, Kevin Cronin was becoming the principal songwriter, and Gary, not at this time, but shortly thereafter, a few years later, I should say, felt that maybe he was getting a bit sidelined and the band was taking a direction that was further away from sort of hard or what we would now call classic rock and more towards sort of power pop. And that was the direction that really made REO big, even though this shouldn't take away from any of the great guitar contributions. Keep on Loving You, for instance, on the smash hit High Infidelity from 1980, has a great guitar part, great guitar playing, and Gary Richrath really put his signature on that song. You could say the same about Take It on the Run, another hit from that album. And the hits did keep on coming, but eventually the wheels came off, and now I think that the band is officially retired, but in that golden era of REO, and perhaps even more apparently in that early era of REO, when they were a cult band in a way, an underground band, as opposed to the pop powerhouse that they became, Gary Richrath was the man who kept the band going. And without his efforts and contributions, they would have never made it big. And without his contributions to the hits that Kevin Cronin wrote, they wouldn't sound as good as they do. So happy posthumous birthday to the friends and family of Gary Richrath, a true legend of music. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Take care.